All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really interesting leadership manual, one that sees communication in a totally different light, not just as a skill, but as a kind of spiritual calling. And it kicks things off with a pretty serious warning.
So right out of the gate, the manual hits you with this idea. The point it's making is that communication, it's not just idle chatter. It's a genuine force, something that can literally build things up or tear them down. We're talking life and death. So yeah, the stakes are about as high as they get.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about your average public speaking course here. No. This manual argues that communication is the #1 tool a leader has. It's the main way you either foster a healthy community or you become the reason it falls apart.
Okay, let's get into section 1, the power of words. And the subtitle says it all, really, how our words can build up or tear down. This is the foundational idea for the whole thing.
Next up, section 2, the master communicator. To really show what this looks like in practice, the manual dives deep into a case study. It analyzes the communication style of Jesus as a kind of template for effective leadership.
The very first technique they pull out is all about adapting to your audience. Now, the key here isn't about watering down the message itself. It's about changing the packaging, Using language and analogies that actually click with the person you're talking to, right where they are.
And here's a perfect example of that in action. You've got two very different people. On one hand, there's Nicodemus, a religious scholar. To him, the conversation is about a deep theological concept, being born again. On the other hand, you have the Samaritan woman, an outcast. The conversation with her starts with something very real and tangible, living water. See what's happening? It's the same core message, but the delivery is completely customized. All right, technique number 2 is all about asking questions, but not in the way you might think. In this model, questions aren't for quizzes or just getting data. They're a tool to pull the listener into the conversation, to make them an active partner. The goal is to guide them to an insight, not just spoon-feed them an answer. And this quote is a fantastic example. Instead of just lecturing, here's what the law says. The question is flipped. What is written? How do you read it? That's a huge shift, right? It totally empowers the other person. It says your interpretation matters. They're no longer just listening. They're wrestling with the idea themselves.
Okay, next up, a big one. Using stories and parables. The manual's point is that stories are like vehicles. They take these huge, abstract, maybe even confusing ideas and anchor them in something simple, something relatable. It makes the profound feel personal and easy to remember. And this quote really drives that point home. He did not say anything to them without using a parable. Wow. So storytelling wasn't just a nice-to-have, an occasional trick. According to this source, it was the default mode of communication. It was the main event.
And the last technique we'll pull from this case study is the power of summarizing. The skill of taking something huge and complex, a massive set of rules or a complicated idea, and boiling it all down to its absolute essence. And this has to be the ultimate example of that. You take hundreds of laws, this massive, detailed legal code, and shrink it down to just 2 core commands. Love God and love others. That's it. It's such a radical simplification, and it makes the entire system something anyone can grasp and remember. Okay, moving on to section 3, the communication blueprint. So we've seen the how with those techniques. Now let's look at the why, the core principles that make it all work. First things first, let's get a clear definition on the table. According to this manual, effective communication has one and only one job: to create shared understanding. It's not enough to just say the words. The real test is, did the other person get it the way you meant it? And importantly, the burden of clarity is on the person speaking. Now, this is a big one. The manual calls this the central tension, a non-negotiable. You've got these 2 things, truth and love. If you have truth without love, what do you get? Brutal honesty, harsh judgment. It's just mean. But if you have love without truth, it's just sentimental fluff that doesn't actually help anyone. The real sweet spot, the goal, is to speak the truth in love, holding both of those things together.
So what holds all this up? Well, the manual lays out these 5 pillars. Think of them as the foundation. You've got clarity and consistency. That's about what you say. And then you've got courtesy, active listening,
and right timing. That's all about how you say it. You need all 5.
All right, section 4, building with words. So it's one thing to talk about one-on-one communication, but how does this scale up to a whole team or a community? This section explores how information needs to flow to build a healthy, trusting environment.
The manual breaks it down into 3 key directions. First, you've got downward communication. That's leaders casting vision, explaining the why. Then there's upward communication. This is vital for getting feedback and hearing concerns from the ground up. And finally, horizontal. That's colleague to colleague, building teamwork and unity. The manual is clear. For a group to thrive, all 3 of these pathways have to be open and flowing freely. Okay, we're at the final section. And this is where the manual kind of pulls back the curtain. It says that everything we've talked about so far, all the techniques, the principles, even those flowcharts, they're all secondary. They're not the most important thing. There's one idea that sits above it all. And here it is. The secret isn't about technique. It's about heart connection. The manual's ultimate point is this. You can be the most skilled communicator in the world. You can master every single tip and trick, but if you don't genuinely care about the person you're talking to, it's all gonna fall flat. It's not about what you say or even how you say it. It's about the why. It's about connection over content every single time. So, we'll wrap up with the very same question this manual leaves its readers to think about. It's a pretty powerful one. If it's true that words build worlds, then it's worth asking, what world are your words building?